I'm
angry.
impartial, unbiased here. I'm relaying what the streets are possibly saying. I
We were
see
chatting
lots of
shit.
people obviously on Stroll's side saying Yuki's mad and what was he doing? Yeah, like I just Norris was doing so well, and then Ricardo was also beginning to do well, and I thought they would both do well together, but that's not happened.
No.
So it's interesting. Hi guys, welcome back to On the Chicane. You're here with me, Paris, and my co-host Mariam, and today we are talking about that bomb ass. I think I can say ass. Bomb ass Brazilian Grand Prix. I literally cannot wait to talk to you about this. I've been sitting here for 2 days waiting. So yeah, literally, this is going to be an epic episode, and you're in for a massive treat. We're a little bit late on the episode because Mariam's a bit unwell. And she was also working really hard this weekend, actually covering the race. So therefore, I feel like, much deserved rest and stuff is needed anyway. But yeah, in the meantime, what I did do though was I jumped onto Quick Stop F1's pod, and I did a little bit of a guest feature there. So if you haven't already seen it, go check them out. They are amazing, run by Munch Club TV and Bandy Tweets, and they are really amazing. They're on YouTube and Spotify, I think, all the pods, and Twitter. So check them out. Quick Stop F1. But back to us. Yeah, we'll link them below. There's been a lot happening. I think this weekend's been jam-packed, right? Last weekend, it was just full from start to finish. So much to talk about. I feel like it all kicked off at the beginning of the week with like that little rumor of Otmar going to Alpine, the hype,
Yeah.
and then he put out his statement, didn't he?
Yeah. I mean, he didn't he denied that as a deal has happened, but he didn't deny that he's gonna go somewhere. So it
Yeah.
kind of leaves the door open a bit. And I think Otmar's been with the team for quite a while. So has Aston Martin improved this year, considering where Racing Point were last year? I feel like they have improved, but they've also kind of gone a step back. So I don't know, maybe Lawrence wants a change. Maybe he's like, I need to get rid of this guy and get a new team principal in. I mean, he's brought in so many new staff members this year. The main one being Martin Whitmarsh, who like had over 20 years experience or something and comes from like McLaren and other various racing championships. So yeah, maybe Lawrence is looking to switch up that part of the team, because that is the only part of the team that he's not really changed since he's come in at the beginning of the year. So yeah, I guess we'll see. But Otmar is an intriguing statement you put out. That's
Definitely.
what I'll say.
It made me giggle. I was just like, dude, okay, you didn't say, and you took a lot of words to say nothing, basically.
Yeah.
You just said that it's not based on the story was not based on facts, but that doesn't mean that there wasn't another story there to be found out. So I thought that was interesting, and that's definitely something that could come up again next year for 2022. But yeah, speaking of Alpine, they've just hired Oscar Piastri as their reserve driver for 2022. So he was the F2 winner this year, I believe. And that's going to be an interesting step up for him, obviously, graduating into the number one team. And sadly, Gio has been announced literally today that he is leaving Alfa Romeo, and Gang Joe, I hope I pronounced that correctly. He is going to be taking over. So he'll be partnering up with Bottas next year.
Yeah.
That could be quite interesting.
I think that will be interesting because it'll give Bottas the chance to be a number one driver. And I'm really gutted for Gio though. I think like recently, second half of the season, he has really put his foot down and shown that like I think if he had the chance, he should have been given another year to be able to prove himself a bit more. So I am a bit sad for him. But at the same time, he's found himself a drive in Formula E. So I'm really happy that he's like, it makes you think back to like Nico Hulkenberg, who was kind of pushed out of F1 and is kind of just there on the sidelines now as a reserve driver for Aston Martin. But like he's been out of the sport for 2 years, so there's no chance of him coming back.
Literally.
So I'm glad that Gio's found another drive for a championship that's kind of on the rise. So yeah, sad but happy, and it'll be interesting to see how Zhou like does in the sport. Yeah,
I think it'd be interesting. I've seen a lot of people be really angry with him or just the fact that he's in F1, maybe not personally him, because obviously not obviously, you may not know this, but he comes with a lot of sponsorship, basically. So people feel that he may have been chosen over some of the other younger drivers who may be more successful because of the amount of money that he brings to the sport. But at the same time, I think we can't judge it until we see him step into the car next year. And I think we should give him a chance.
Exactly. You should give him a chance, but also you cannot get annoyed at that this late in the game, because that is literally what Formula One is. Like everyone who is here comes. Fernando Alonso, again, going back to the same guy that I talk about every week. Like, why are you here? He's here because he's got the bloody money. Like, that's literally what F1 is. F1 is a sport that like revolves around money. So if he's going to bring in more money than another driver, why is a team not going to choose him? It just makes so much sense for them financially, right?
Yeah. And this is not to say that we agree with their methodology, because I think we all agree that, we wish it could be a meritocracy fully, including making the sport more diverse, like racially wise and just in every sense of the word. But the fact of the matter is, as it stands right now, that is not possible. So I don't begrudge them necessarily for going for him, especially if it turns out that he actually is a really amazing driver and he does really well. I think we need to, like, proof is in the pudding. We've got to see what happens first. But yeah, let's get on to the race weekend. So this was the last of the sprint race weekends. This year we've had that format where 3 weekends we've had sprint races on a Saturday, pushing quali to a Friday, and effectively changing the outcome of the weekend, because you end up with 6 extra points being awarded. So 3 for the first number 1 driver, 2 for the second driver, and 1 point for the person who comes in P3 in the sprint race. This weekend, quali was on Friday, and it was a pretty good quali. Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes had a new engine in. A new ICE, internal combustion engine, put in, and they were pretty speedy.
Pretty speedy is the best way to put it. Hamilton was on fire and completely smashed quali, and then it wasn't until after quali where the FIA did their usual checks and stuff, and they realized that actually his DRS wing was a little too wide. So yeah,
I thought that was quite wild though, because I mean, I don't know, it seemed to me like it's such a difficult one, because in a sense, I feel like I have to try and look at this like fairly. If I was like a Red Bull fan, let's say, but at the same time I don't know, I just can't I can't understand why they kind of went in so hard on the infraction, considering the way it was measured seemed a little bit like don't know, it seemed like a little bit of like a human measurement. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like they put it on a weighing scale and the weight was like mechanical. Like, it's done with a person who stands there with a wand and shoves it through the back of the wing at different points. And like I for the reasoning of why they ended up being disqualified, The fact that it wasn't along the whole wing, it was just a tiny portion of the wing. The FIA already said that they know that it wasn't intentional, it wasn't by design. So to me, it just seemed like something that could have just been easily fixed, and they could have kept their position.
But like, rules are rules, right? I mean, they're very strict rules, and this is why because if you were to be that lenient on it, like, who's to say that a team won't take advantage of that and not like a week later, you know? Because you could easily take advantage of things like that, especially if they give a bit of leniency here and there.
I guess it wasn't leniency that I mean, but like I'm asking for. I just think, like, I don't know, to me it was clear cut in the sense that they failed, and we know that they failed, but like the way that they measure seemed a bit arbitrary to me. Like the fact that it's literally just like it's a 2 meter long span wing, and they're shoving this ball through it themselves with their hand to see like 10 newtons of pressure if I push a little bit harder. Like I feel like if you jam anything into anything, it's gonna move, like it's gonna get through. And I don't know, that's my opinion. I'm sure tons and tons of people disagree with me, and at the end of the day they were disqualified and they broke a rule, so that's what happened. And they ended up out. What else happened in qualifying?
I was gonna say, after quali you had Lewis Hamilton like under investigation for like 24 hours, but then Max touched his rear wing.
Oh yeah, and I actually forgot about that for a second.
Yeah, so then Max was also under investigation because it's like, have you tampered with the enemy's rear wing? Like, what's going on here? So that was a whole nother investigation. Then everyone started calling on like Inspector Seb and saying how he touched, but Seb clearly has never touched the part of a car that's been under investigation before. So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so it was just a whole drama from Friday to Saturday where we were all literally waiting like to see what the decision was. And I think it was Max's decision that came out first, that he was only going to be fined or something. It was like 500.
That was dumb.
Was it 500,000 or something?
Yeah, but I mean, for Max Verstappen, you may as well have given him a penny. Like, what's the? It was nothing.
And then after that, like seconds later, they posted that Hamilton was disqualified from quali. So then that obviously shifted the order for the sprint race, which was due to be happening later that day. So then, and we already knew that Hamilton was going to be taking a 5-place grid penalty because of his new ICE unit. So basically, technically speaking, Hamilton dropped back 25 grid places when there's only 20 cars on the grid. So I mean,
I think across the weekend, like, he really was up against it in the sense of like penalties and disqualifications. And actually, you just reminded me that they did take a very long time to come to the decision. So I think this is another reason why I'm kind of like arguing against it, because it's not something that was simply clear cut as, oh, you were, this much out, and then definitely they themselves took more than 12 hours to even come to the decision. So I don't know, personally I feel like they could have made a different decision, but they made the decision that they made. And people will call me salty maybe because he still won anyway, but yeah, maybe he could have I don't know, just at least had the whatever the award is for whoever wins quali on Saturday. I think it's pole position. I think they actually get pole position award, right?
Yeah, the little parade higher.
Still not used to that. But yeah, just back to quali for a second. Latifi, honourable mention for out qualifying George for the first time in 2021.
Actually, the first time, like, has it actually
the first time he legitimately out qualified him?
Jeez,
poor guy.
I mean, big ups the kid for finally managing it.
Because he's still in Formula One next year as well, so it's about bloody time that he starts pulling his finger out.
Oh yeah, he's against Albon next year, isn't he? Yeah.
Yep.
I wonder how that's gonna work. Who do you think we bet there?
Albon, easily.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
It's going to be another Russell and Latifi kind of thing, isn't it?
That'd be interesting.
Maybe not as good as Russell, but who knows? And then you had Stroll. Stroll had quite a poor performance, didn't he, in quali?
Like quali just didn't go our way. I didn't go like Aston's way on Friday. I mean, considering like in the past few races, Aston have finished in the points mainly, I think, no, equally, I would say, between Seb and Lance, one of them has kind of come home in the points for the last few races, as I say, but this time around, like it just wasn't their weekend. And quickly moving forward to the race, like they just had a really bad race because of things that weren't in their control. But yeah, quali didn't really go their way. They started, I can't remember where they started the sprint race, but then they managed to redeem themselves, both of them, Seb and Lance, in the sprint race. And then yeah, the race happened. So I don't even know what to say about the Aston boys, to be honest.
So
There's just the consistency, really.
Yeah, was there anything that you noticed that maybe like any reason why Stroll wouldn't have made it into like Q3, power performance or anything like that?
Just pace just wasn't there, and yeah, I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was kind of the dramatic events of Friday. Then we go into Saturday and we know that Lewis Hamilton's going to be at the back of the grid. I have actually watched that video that they put up on F1.com probably a good 10 times. The video of him like overtaking all the different cars on the grid and making his way basically from last place to, or not even basically, he made his way from last place all the way up to fifth. I showed so many people who didn't even care about Formula One because I was so proud of him. It was just such a great like thing to watch.
I mean, this is why they call Lewis Hamilton the GOAT, man. Like you actually cannot deny how good he is. What other driver on that grid would have been able to do that? Like, and it's just his like he's literally said it himself afterwards. He was like, I said I'm gonna go get him, and that is what he did, because
yeah,
it's just his mindset. And I know he's had a really tough year, but now that it's like crunch time, he's actually like, okay, I've actually got to fight for this. And he is literally trying so hard. And it's just incredible to see like that he's still got that mindset. And it just means that the championship's still wide open. And it's mad to think that when we've literally got 3 races left. Like,
I think a lot of Mercedes fans were probably like, oh no, we've got a disqualification. Damn, we've got a penalty. We're never going to be able to kind of get up there. You've got the Red Bull fans who are probably elated. They're thinking, yep, Max's can walk away with the championship now. Championship done. That's in Red Bull's trophy case already. And I think this weekend just shows that you literally can't discount the driver from the race. Like, don't discount the teams because they can literally pull it out of the bag and turn it around in just one weekend, especially when it is as close as it is. So I really loved seeing everything that happened on Saturday. I thought there was a really nice battle as well between Leclerc and Lando, which to me actually, I think somebody wrote on Twitter like, what was your favorite overtake of the sprint quali thing? And personally, actually, my favorite overtake was Leclerc and Norris. So Norris overtook Leclerc at the end of it, and I just thought that it was like just some really clean, amazing racing between the two of them. Yeah, and obviously Lewis's were all just amazing anyway, but it was a good sprint quali. Okay, quick question.
go on.
All 3 sprint qualies have been done. We've had crazy Max and Lewis drama every weekend that there's been a sprint quali. I feel like there's a bit of a little juju going on there because Silverstone, obviously you had Max going off and crashing into the barrier. Then Monza, you had both of them crashing out, and then this time you've had Max running Lewis wide. Luckily, both of them managed to like stay in. So I don't know. There's always Max and Lewis drama on those sprint weekends, but putting that aside, how do you feel now that we've seen all of them? How do you feel it affects the format? do you think it was a good addition to the year? We're going to have 6 of them next year, so do you think they should keep them?
It doesn't bother me that we've got rid of one of the practice sessions, because realistically, why do we need 3 practice sessions? It does add a bit of excitement to the weekend, because it is literally a mini race. The only issue that I have is that, and it's not really a logical issue, it's just a Mariam issue. Why are there only a few? Like, do the whole season, you know? Because it just annoys me, because then I'm like, okay, well, you're awarding these extra points, but like, why is it only for certain weekends? Do you know? It's just a bit of a, like, my brain just doesn't like it, because I'm just like, I need consistency. Consistency is key in my life, just so you know, guys. I'm big on consistency. So yeah.
I feel like that's aimed at people in particular. I still am not on board with the sprint races, not in their current format. I do not think that they add to the weekend. I think if Lewis didn't have the extra IT this weekend, I don't think that it would have been a very particularly interesting race. I think it's too short to be like an interesting race, like unless they change something in it and make it a bit more, raise the stakes a little bit. I think it's too easy, I guess. I was really surprised actually when Lando Norris and Leclerc even tried to fight for any kind of positions. I don't think they cared after the first few laps. In the last sprint race and sprint race before, it pretty much was a parade, and the only thing that was interesting in this sprint race was Lewis going through the pack, which he did because, well, he's a GOAT and he did have a much faster car than the majority of the track.
I'm so surprised to hear that.
Yeah, I'm not on board with the sprints. Sorry. I think as well for me is it makes quali on a Friday obsolete. Like quali doesn't impact Sunday, and it just, the disconnect for me is a bit too much, because yes, it impacts the sprint race, but then like I said, everybody in the sprint race kind of stays in a parade kind of fashion. So it's just,
that depends on the track, doesn't it? Because like Interlagos isn't really a overtaking track except from into turn 1, so maybe that's a reason.
I don't know. I think every single track they're like, this is not an overtaking track, so find me the overtaking track and put the sprint race on that one, because that's the only one like what was Silverstone, and that was a parade anyway. So I don't know, I'm not here for it. I think if they change the format of it, it will probably work, but they need to work on it and they need to figure out the name, because Speed King Award on a Friday is not it, I'm saying.
Well, to be honest, I think I don't mind either way if they keep it or get rid of it, but I do like the idea of only having 2 practice sessions.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we just need to get rid of one of the practice sessions and squeeze 2 and quali into a day, and maybe just get rid of Friday sessions or something. I don't know. But
yeah, but then they want money. They want to maximize the weekend, don't they? They want people buying weekend tickets.
Bastards.
Yeah. This is another thing, like the money side of it is just it's too blatant in my opinion. It doesn't seem to me like it's really there. It's about the racing. So yeah, for me, nope. I'm interested to see what they do with it next year, because I feel like they will develop it more and maybe it will be a bit better. But from me personally, judgment from the first season, no. And I'd love to know your thoughts. Put them down below. Let's talk about the actual race. Oh yeah.
All right, the first lap. It was great. It was so good because, so as we've said, Hamilton managed to get up to 5th in sprint race. So he was starting the race in 10th because of his 5-place grid penalty, which we all knew he was taking on race day anyway. I've seen some people get this wrong, because they've said that he managed to get up to 6th on the first lap. It was actually going into the second lap that Hamilton, I think it was turn 1 into the second lap, where Hamilton managed to get up to 6th because he overtook Vettel. So within 71 laps for this race, within like the second lap, he's managed to get up to 6th, and you just know he's like on a charge.
Yeah.
And I think everyone started the race on medium tyres except Tsunoda, I think, who was on softs. Tsunoda also screwed up Stroll's race, actually, that being said, because he was on soft, so he was a bit faster. But going into turn one, again, he took the inside line, which wasn't really, I mean, it was the racing line, but because Stroll was ahead of him, Stroll had every right to move over to the inside, to the left. And Tsunoda ended up actually going into Stroll, which then ended up compromising Stroll's race later on in the race because he just had loads of damage to his car. And even though Aston tried to fix it and they brought him in for a few pit stops, unfortunately, he just had too much damage to his car, so he couldn't finish the race. And also, I think I just lied. I think I said this was on like the opening lap. This wasn't. This was like lap 5 or something. So, but yeah, so that was that. What else happened in the opening lap?
So in the opening lap, we did have.
No, I was going to say, talk about Bottas's getaway and Max and whatever. The run down from pole to turn 1 is so short. I think it's like 200 and something meters. It's not that long at all. So, you really got to fight for it. And Max just managed to have the better getaway, annoyingly. So I think Valtteri didn't have the best getaway. Like, he did try.
Yeah.
Max managed to get ahead of him, and then Perez as well was like there. So then all of a sudden, I think Bottas was down 2 places because both the Red Bulls were ahead of him.
You might be right. I don't remember where he ended up. I know that obviously Verstappen got ahead of him. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, this race absolutely just captivated me with like literally Max and Lewis. Usually I make a massive effort to kind of watch everybody else, but like for this race, I was honestly just like on the edge of my seat, kind of watching to see what happened with the two of them. Obviously Lewis making his way up and then getting to where he got to, and then seeing him between him and Max. So yeah, it was, I think the first lap you also had like Norris and Sainz with a collision.
Yeah.
So that was, I think that was just a racing incident in the end, like that neither of them got a penalty or anything like that, but it wasn't too good, I think, for Norris, and at the very least it probably wasn't very good for his mentality, which, as we know, has not been like tip-top shape the last couple of races. So I'm really surprised though, like if you, not because Ferrari haven't been doing well, actually we've said multiple times on the pod, on our chats, that Ferrari have a dream team, honestly, at the moment. I think they probably have the strongest pairing on the grid, actually. Like I just, Norris was doing so well, and then Ricciardo was also beginning to do well, and I thought they would both do well together, but that's not happened.
No.
So it's interesting because I kind of thought that McLaren might take it, but it looks like Ferrari fans, you guys are absolutely winning this year at the moment. Anyway. Yeah. So just to quickly touch on what you were saying about Stroll and Yuki really quickly. I've seen a lot of people stick up for Yuki, actually. So I find it really interesting.
Why?
I've seen it really, really interesting that you are on the side of Stroll, because
are you mad?
I'm impartial, unbiased here. I'm relaying what the streets are possibly saying. I've seen lots of people, obviously on Stroll's side, saying Yuki's mad and what was he doing, and he went in too deep, or he basically, like, what's the word? He was gung-ho, like he went too much for it. He shouldn't have darted for that space that was not there, basically. But then I've seen some other people say Yuki's penalty was harsh, and actually Stroll wasn't paying attention and turned over too much.
Are you actually kidding me? That was literally Stroll's racing line. Like, you can't say that he was ahead. He was ahead of Yuki. He literally had every right to do exactly as he did. Yuki was the one who overestimated himself and completely just went straight into like where Stroll was going, and basically took that position and ended up colliding with him. And then Yuki had the audacity to bloody sit on the radio and complain and be like, he wasn't looking. Actually, Stroll probably was looking, but was thinking, I'm going to fend because this is my position. Like, it's, oh, okay, I want to know, whoever is supporting Yuki in this instance, comment below and I will fight you, because I don't agree here, okay? I need to know who.
I'm looking forward to seeing those chats go down. So if you're a Yuki supporter, I really want to see that.
At me.
I think overall, though, like Yuki's whole season has been poor compared to, I think, what a lot of us were expecting from him in the beginning. Just because he seemed like a little like fighter, and he had the good attitude and that kind of stuff. So I think we all thought that Yuki was going to perform much better and not cause so many issues. But it is his rookie season, and luckily for the first time in probably about 6 years, AlphaTauri are actually giving someone a second chance for once. So hopefully he will mature a bit next year and not, cause so many issues, because I believe they caused the first safety car, maybe, or one of the VCS, one of the virtual safety cars.
Yeah, on the track.
Yeah, so I think it will be really interesting to see how he grows, and hopefully he does. But it's definitely not been a very good season for him. I think he just is taking a bit too many risks at the moment.
He's reckless.
A little bit.
He's reckless, and he's bringing down Gasly. And honestly, I swear to God, if anyone gets a better seat next year, it has to be Gasly. I don't care for anyone else. It has to be Gasly. Gasly is, I was literally thinking this again the other day, like he finished the race, I want to say 7th or something. He's so consistent. He's been so good in finishing in the points this year. Like, yeah, honestly.
I think even again, he qualified like 6th, I think. Yeah, he finished 7th. So, I mean, that's still pretty good. Like, literally, only people ahead of him are Mercedes, Red Bull, and the Ferraris.
Yeah, exactly.
So, brilliant.
Really good.
I kind of want him to like do one more year after that somewhere else. I would love to see him in Mercedes.
I see it.
Yeah.
I see it happening. And you know what? I actually think if anyone has the potential to take Lewis's seat, and I don't know, this may be a bit too like optimistic, but if anyone has the potential to take Lewis's seat once he retires, maybe it is Gasly, because the kid's good, man. He was good at Red Bull as well. He just wasn't given the chance, and he wasn't given the support that he needed. But we've seen from his time as an F1 driver how good he actually is. So yeah, I don't know. I think he needs to be given a better seat, and yeah, I really hope he's got a good future ahead of him, because he's got a lot of potential. Him and Carlos, I think.
Same. Yeah. I think it's interesting because a lot of people want Mick Schumacher to end up in Ferrari in the next few years, but I think Carlos and Leclerc are a really good pairing. Like a really good pairing. So I think that partnership may last a little bit longer than people are expecting, and I just hope that Mick Schumacher then doesn't get bored in Haas waiting for the top seat.
He could go elsewhere though. Like,
I think it's a bit of a legacy thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
People want to see another Schumacher in the Ferrari. Mick probably wants to see himself and his dad in the Ferrari because of his dad. So it's an interesting one. I don't know where else Mick could go, to be honest. Maybe to Alfa Romeo after Bottas leaves. But yeah, we've sidetracked.
Yeah,
we've gone as far off the track as Max Verstappen trying to push Lewis out. So let's bring it back.
Yeah.
And let's talk about that. Let's talk about the battle. So obviously Lewis has done his charge, overtaken all of these people to make it up to second, because Bottas then lets him through. And it's just him and Max, and he's going for it.
Yeah.
Max knows he's coming.
Yeah. And do you know what? Before we do talk about this, I just want to say how Formula One have really done us dirty for the past 2 days by releasing all these onboards, except for Max's up until today. So it's just like, how do you even talk about this? Because it's just so, especially now having seen the onboards, you're just like,
yeah. I think, all right, we are probably the luckier content creators, because pretty much everybody else has probably released their videos at this point, and none of them had this information that we now have.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about the
let's talk about the actual incident. Yeah,
like talk about the move, about the incident.
So Max is in the lead, really trying to hold on. Hamilton is hunting him down. He's not giving up. And then so Hamilton literally kind of comes up alongside Max, trying to overtake him, and Max sees him, manages to kind of keep ahead, but then knowing that Lewis is literally right there, and he knows that Lewis is going to try and overtake him going into this corner, Max kind of just, instead of actually taking his racing line and turning his car enough, he kind of goes a bit wide, but it looks like it's intentional because he ends up pushing Lewis off the track and then also pushing himself off the track. But that's kind of because that's the line that he's taking. And yeah, Hamilton ends up running really wide, actually. And it makes you question, like, was that an intentional move? And, it's only because Lewis was smart enough to think, I'm not giving up now, that he didn't fight back to try and actually take the track, because they both went off the track. So he didn't try to take that line on the track. He let Max push him aside because he was like, what's the point in, like, us both going off, because this is something that we're both fighting for. So Hamilton kind of lets him run him wide, and then they both rejoin the track, and then eventually Hamilton gets the lead. But on the day when that happened, everyone was kind of like, whoa, what's Max doing? You've just ran Lewis off the track.
What was your reaction?
I was like, what the fuck? like I was, because I was like, clearly that was intentional. There was no need for him to do that. Like, you've been driving so well this entire race, and then as soon as you've got Hamilton on your back, you're all of a sudden accidentally taking the wrong line and just like making a stupid mistake like that. Like, no, it was obvious it was intentional. So yeah, and then obviously the onboards were released today. But what did you think of it?
My immediate thought when I was watching it was, oh, that's going to get investigated. Like, that was just straight away. My thought was like, yeah, cool, they've gone off. But like, Max, to me, did not seem like he was attempting to get around that corner. He didn't look up. He didn't run wide, like with brakes and like completely turning in and stuff. Like, it looked like he'd taken a wider arc into the corner. And that, to me, is bad, because the whole point of racing is that you're supposed to race on the track. Like, once you go over the white line, you're not on the track. You're no longer like racing legally. Do you know what I mean? So to me, if he's not trying to stay on the track because of whatever's happening around him, that can be counted against him. And I don't really understand. A lot of people are like, but they didn't come into contact. Lewis still managed to overtake him in the end. All of these reasons why, if you're a Max fan, or if you're a Red Bull fan, or if you just hate Lewis, or if maybe you're unbiased and you're watching it, and maybe you're not seeing that because you don't you don't understand or you don't care. To me, it's quite clear cut that if you push someone wide intentionally, or you know that what you're going to do is going to push somebody off the track, that you should be at the very least investigated, and they should then come to that conclusion through the investigation. And I think what's also interesting is that the stewards did not have that data. Like, they didn't have that. They couldn't see his steering wheel, so they don't know if he was turning into Hamilton to literally intentionally crash into him, or if he was locked up trying to turn into the corner, or if he was just going straight. They didn't know. So I feel like, to me, they shouldn't have even really made a decision until they had that information, even if they were then retrospectively added a penalty. But that was my opinion when it was happening. I didn't think it was fair, and I thought that it was going to get investigated. And when it didn't, I was pretty shocked, but also maybe a bit unshocked, because I think that at the moment, some of the championship is being orchestrated a little bit, in the sense that I feel like, controversial. I feel like they want the title race to go down to the last, bit. Well, they don't. I saw something today actually where Michael Massey said that they were operating on the let them race principle. Literally says that. I think it was with Autosport or Motorsport UK, I can't remember which, but someone has interviewed him, and Michael Massey, the race director, basically said that they were operating in that moment on the let them race principle. And to me, a let them race principle should not be overridden by bad sportsmanship, and they should still investigate things if somebody is doing something wrong. So that, to me, that just says that they're trying to put their hands away from the championship and let stuff happen, because it's going to be more entertaining for the fans at the end.
Yeah. But that being said, Mercedes have now today come back and said, we want you to re-investigate.
Yeah.
So let's see what happens.
Yeah. And people crying about it, saying, oh, but it's already happened and Lewis has already won, so why would they investigate?
This is literally classic Red Bull. What was it that happened? Was it Silverstone? Horner did not let that go. For weeks he was talking about it, for bloody on Sky and whatever.
Yeah.
So this is literally classic Red Bull. They hold on to things and they will make a big deal out of the smallest things. So I feel like Mercedes are now being just as petty, because they're like, all right, if you're going to be like that, we're also going to be like that, because this is just as important to us. And Mercedes are slacking at the moment. They're behind. So
they're definitely being petty queens, but even if you take away the pettiness that is surely there, they have the right. New information, new evidence has come to light. There was something that could have been investigated that could have had an impact on their race. It could have, for example, if they investigated it after the race, Bottas was 3 seconds behind Max at the finish line. So if they applied a 5-second penalty, Verstappen would have been third. That gets them more points in the championship, more points for Bottas in the Drivers' Championships. It actually does have a bearing on actual things. So I think they're well within their rights to investigate it. And yeah, I think Red Bull just need to not cry about it now. Just let it happen. Let's see what happens. If you're innocent, you're innocent.
That being said, happy birthday, Christian Horner.
Oh yeah, happy birthday.
Yeah. So I mean, that was the race. It was insane, just a great race. Considering we've had some pretty boring races recently, it was quite nice to have a bit of action.
Definitely, and Lewis provided that action.
That being said, I think it's pretty obvious, but who was your winner of the day?
I think it was that guy. He has dreads. There's something about him. He drives quite well. I think he's all right. He's quite well. No, I'm joking. Yeah, definitely Lewis. It's not often that I actually really big him up as my driver of the day, to be fair. I mostly just tend to kind of exclude Lewis and Max from most of my drivers of the day, because obviously they're both, well, especially Lewis, but they're good drivers and everybody's favorites and stuff. And we try to look at the rest of the field. But today is all for Lewis. He is getting all of my accolades for the whole weekend. He banged the whole weekend. He made it amazing, and he made me like just so excited through his performance. And seeing him in Brazil made my heart so warm, because I genuinely feel like that's the first crowd. Even America has his back, but I feel like that was the first crowd where it literally seemed like everybody was there for Lewis. And all the purple smoke. It was just amazing to see so many people genuinely behind him.
Yeah, I love the passion that the Brazilian fans have for Lewis. It was really, really nice to see.
Shout out everybody who was in that Brazilian prayer room just before the race on Saturday night. There was a little prayer room that was happening in Portuguese. Did not understand a word, but I definitely entered it. And I was like, hey, listening to all the music and stuff and the prayers that they were doing.
Oh, that is brilliant.
It was jokes. So yeah, definitely my winner of the day. Who was yours?
Obviously, Lewis. I think we're both going to have the same winners and losers of the day, but you can't help it. Like, he was not even my winner of the day. He, like you said, winner of the weekend. He was insane, smashed it. Can't get any better than that. And my loser, sorry, but Max.
I think on quick stop, I had said Lando.
Interesting.
Not really through anything he'd done per se, but just the fact that, like, he ends up only getting 1 point this weekend compared to like his previous, all of the rest of the weekends. After that contact that he had with Sainz and stuff, I don't think he ever really recovered. He didn't really do a recovery drive or anything in that sense. So
that's an interesting one. I wouldn't have thought you'd say Lando, but why?
Yeah, it was just like, it's really hard. I think today was like that weekend for the losers of the day, because I usually there's someone who's done something completely abysmal and you can easily kind of pinpoint it. But with the jury still out on Maximilian Verstappen, we wait to see what happens. I personally would put the blame on him, but it is a debatable one. So yeah, I think, I'm not sure.
Yeah, okay. Right, so final race of the triple header this weekend. We're going racing for the first time ever in Qatar, on the Losail International Circuit. That's going to be interesting because it's a MotoGP circuit, so it's fast flowing, built for motorcycle racing, not Formula One four-wheel racing. So it's going to be really interesting. None of the current drivers except Perez have actually raced on that track before. They've only ever done sim work on it. So that's going to be really interesting to see how they actually navigate the track IRL. I'm kind of just happy that we're nearing the end of the season, to be honest. We've got 3 races left. And I'm sorry, I love Formula One, but I need a bloody break. So I'm kind of glad.
Yeah, I think you sound like you need a warm cup of tea and some, I don't know, bickies for bed. I literally am excited as well for the end of the season, because I just want to know who's going to win now. It's so close at the moment that at the moment Max and Lewis are both still in contention easily for the championship. If one of them DNFs and the other one wins 2 races, that's it. It's done. So it could literally go down to the likes of Abu Dhabi photo finish, the 2 of them going straight in a drag race. Like, I would love to see it. But yeah, in the meantime, between now and then, where can everybody find us?
On social media. No, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at On The Chicane. Paris and I also have something really exciting happening next week, which we'll share with you after it's happened or when it's happening. Yes. But yeah, so stay tuned on our channels. And obviously we'll be back next week with our post-Qatar rundown. But yeah, I guess we'll catch you in a few days' time when that race happens. Yeah.
Bye. See ya.
Bye.